Another journey, and today's guest is an exciting guest who's an expert in automating the boring yet essential tasks businesses face daily. Our guest is the CEO of Automate Boring, a custom AI automation, RPA, and AI development company that helps companies streamline their processes and boost productivity. With a background in law and criminology and years of experience integrating gamification into sales strategies, our guest now focuses on using automation to solve business challenges, big and small. So if you're curious about how AI and automation can transform your business, this is a conversation you won't want to miss because we're going to talk about how he started his journey. And it's not my journey, as I say, it's his journey. But we welcome Benjamin Bressington to the journey.
Hey, David, excited to be here.
You're welcome. Now, I always like to talk about people's journeys, and obviously your journey is involving AI and talking about stuff that is the current. But what was your earliest memories that kick-started your thinking into your journey when you was younger?
Well, I was always a little entrepreneurial. I can remember being about 11, 12 years old, trying to sell palm trees on the side of the road. I actually had some little palm trees and some little ferns. Little did I know that these ferns were like almost dead. But a friend of mine said, or a friend of the family said, "Hey, there's a lot of money in selling plants and all this type of stuff, and like all the plants that we got in the backyard that are all like all these little pottings and all. You can make great money from selling those." I'm like, "Really?" And so I literally went, sat on the side of the road, and then realized that cars going at 40 kilometers an hour aren't really going to stop very quickly for a little kid. With no signage, just says palm trees like on the side of the road. And then I'm like, you know what I've got to do? I've got to go to a flea market and pay for a little booth and sit at a flea market. And the first time I went to the flea market, I set up and I didn't even realize you had to pay for a booth. I thought people could just come and sit there. And then the management came and said, "You can't be here. We're gonna have to move you. Blah 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 blah. But you can come back next week and you can sell your stuff." So I paid for a little thing, and no one bought any of my palm trees because they were the saddest looking saplings you'd ever seen, right? And that always I can remember that as starting the itch of, okay, cool. And then I can remember my very first sale that I made online. Um, that e-commerce transaction after you've set up the website and you had that very first sale come in. I actually called the merchant company to go, "Is this real? Is this legit?" I called the bank to go, "Is this, I made $100. Is this real? Like, is this how it really works?" I even called the client to make sure, like, you really wanted this product and like you just confirming you want us to ship this out for you. And like the client probably thought I was weird back in that early time, but I'm like, I was just like, "Oh my God." And like, there's nothing like that first one, and then it's all downhill from there.
So it is the exciting buzz of just building for so much, and then when it actually hits you and the realization, and you think, yeah, it's my first one, you do pinch yourself. It's the reality check where you pinch yourself constantly.
It is exactly, and then it kind of breaks you because then you know it's possible as well. You then know it. You work at, hey, I can do this type of stuff, and it's always been the same. Even with what we're doing now, I'm literally documenting how I'm scaling a brand new e-commerce store using automations, using AI, taking it from zero to $500,000 in sales, and just documenting what we're going through, the conversations I'm having with people, and that process, and just it's just the same thing. And like people are like, "Oh my God, everything's changed. Everything's changing with it." I'm like, it's changing, but it's still the same. The same things are happening, just a different way. And that's what I think is the most exciting about this opportunity right now. It's never been easier for people to do stuff, but it's also more effort required to do stuff, and it's all about consistency, which I think is the most important part. And with any of these challenges that I've ever done, or this journey, it's always been, okay, it's just the boring stuff you've got to do every single day. May not be exciting, but it's the business stuff.
Yeah, and you talk about AI, and I talk about AI as well because AI things that are amalgamated into one. People misconceive the true meaning of AI and will often misrepresent AI thinking it's this, but it's not. It is using existing technology which will enhance, in this case, sales. Do you believe AI is a good way of how things are going for now? Because obviously it's the now in thing of, you go to mobile phones, it's got AI built in. You go to most computers, you buy new computers, it's got AI built in.
So to me, most people can't define AI. So I help people define AI as just thinking of it as automation. It's like automating the tasks that you're doing, right? So if it's just automation, AI is helping you automate all the little things you're doing. And the more you can automate all the tedious little things around you, the more you can execute it and implement it into your life and free yourself up. Because a lot of the times we spend time doing the wrong things. Or just because you've been doing data entry doesn't mean you should keep still be doing data entry, because now if a computer can do it in 5 minutes, or it doesn't matter if the computer takes an hour to do it, if it was taking you 5 hours, 6 hours, 10 hours, it's a more efficient use of time. So I think people need to start thinking about, how do I get smarter at doing what I do to be more efficient? And what are the new tools? What are the new systems? What are the new software? So, because if something can help me save time, you should leverage it, because otherwise you will be outcompeted by people who are using AI.
Yeah, I totally understand that because, before when we were much younger, we used to use books for bookkeeping, keeping on top of taxes. Now you can just click a few things on the button on the computer and it does it, like you said. So I can totally relate to that. And it's just makes that difference. It's like my taxes, before when I was in England, I used to be using paper books, to follow taxes. And you had like a book that you kept tabs on where you would fill it in every single time. Now you go online, you just say, I did this, do this. You got to put a few numbers in, away you go. And it's
Yeah,
done.
it saves you time, it saves you fees. Some people are like, oh yeah, but I've got to learn this new thing. But you don't have to. You can use tools like Upwork or Fiverr and find someone who, you know what, for $50 will go do this thing. Like, but that, oh my God, it's going to cost me a little bit. Yeah, but your time is still money. And I don't think people realize that. And the sooner you can appreciate that as part of your journey, that at some point in your life, all you're going to want to do is buy back time. So you can actually be doing what you want to be doing.
I understand. So it says it goes into one of the questions from mundane to meaningful, automating the tedious to let talent thrive. Because obviously we're talking about the conversation of a journey of ultimate boring, focusing on freeing teams from repetitive tasks to focus on creative value-adding tasks. I like that thinking as well because you don't want to be stuck doing the same, and it goes back to what I was saying before. You don't want to be stuck doing the same thing. You want to have a team that depends on things, yes, but at the same time, you want a team that's got good morale.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things you need to do if you've got a team right now is empower them to use AI tools to be more efficient and more effective. Because a lot of people are worried about their job. They're worried that, hey, if you're going to implement AI, I'm going to lose my job. And that's not the case. It's actually that you're becoming more valuable to the company because you're leveraging these tools to get more done, to be more efficient, to work on more profitable tasks. I think the biggest problem we have right now is that people have a fear of AI. They have a fear of automation because they're like, my task or what I do every day of how I've defined myself is an automatable task. And that is scary. If what you do is automatable, then what is the true value you're providing? Because at some point, the machines don't stop. The machines don't sleep. The machines don't take holidays. So you can't be upset when the business has to use the machines to do the task to just remain competitive. And I don't think enough people look from the perspective of, they just look from their salary perspective. They look at, this is what I get paid. This, it takes me 40 hours to do this. So you know what? That's how I define my identity. And I think unfortunately right now we're going through a shift where everyone has to adjust their journey to go, how do I be more valuable to the company so I'm not replaceable? And it's a tough question for a lot of people, and a lot of people don't want to deal with it, to be honest.
I do relate to that because most states in America, and I think if you go to the UK, mostly. It's mostly at will. They can say to you tomorrow, we don't want you anymore. In America, I think there's only like a couple states that are not at will. But the fact is, you are working for your value more than you are, because it is at a real state. Like where
Yeah.
I, like where I am, is at a real state. Where you are, is at real state. But it doesn't mean you're infallible, but it just means you have to enhance yourself more to show that you are better for the company.
And there's a lot of people who still don't even know how to. So 50% of people don't know how to use or haven't even used Chat GPT yet. And they say about 75% of people who have even used it don't even know how to use it. They used it once. They're like, this thing's crap. It doesn't work. And it's because they didn't understand the prompting. They didn't understand the conversation process. So even just being able to use Chat GPT to improve you. And I have some people like, oh, it's not as smart as me. In what regards? That thing, can you pass a law exam? Can you pass a medical exam? Can you pass an accounting exam? And like the answer is no, it can't. Just because you don't know how to leverage it yet doesn't mean that it's the right way. So like just learning that in itself can make a massive difference.
And the more you use it, in this case, you're talking about ChatGPT, it is adaptable. It will remember what you talk about. So you can go in it today and say, tell me something that is funny. It will tell you something funny. And then if you say, can you carry on telling me something funny? It will remember from the previous time. So it will always remember what you tell it.
Exactly. And one of the cool things is that I say to people, you want to talk to ChatGPT like it's your assistant, like you're training an intern. And don't assume it knows you. It's been trained on the world, but it hasn't been trained on your world. And this is, I think that once you can understand that, so it's like, okay, what do I have to tell it about me, the task I'm doing? Like if I was training an intern or an assistant to do what I'm doing or what I'm wanting to achieve, like what's the goal I'm wanting to achieve? Have you told it the goal? Hey, I want to create this type of blog post that I can do that about. But before I do that with you, can I tell you my background of what the role I'm in? Here's the information about the product we're selling. Like if you do that, the results are absolutely amazing. But most people they skip that step thinking it should know. And like my grandmother would always say, should in one hand and crap in the other, and see which one fills up faster. And when I was younger, I never really understood that. But now that I'm older, I really, really do understand that statement more than I'm aware. And I say that to people, and they're like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I'm like, oh, my grandmother used to always say to that stuff, and now it makes sense to me.
It's like it can dispense so much, but again, it's information that you tell it, and that's the key thing that people forget. And I'm supporting this in its own entirety. Obviously my thoughts are my own, but the thought is, you go somewhere, it helps you a lot, including in Zoom. I'm using Zoom today. I could have the AI facility listed on my side of the chat now, where it will actually remember certain things. I'm not using it.
Mhm.
But it's there. I can see the thing right in my vision saying AI companion, and I can click on it, and it will just recap everything we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, and like it can take it can transcribe this automatically. It can turn this into a blog post. It can turn this into social media posts. It can do all of that great stuff. So the thing is these tools are out there, and what companies are doing right now is these tools got built so quickly and they're coming to market so quickly that they haven't even been able to implement them. And when they do implement them, it causes layoffs because they're like, well, we've got 20,000 people employed doing the thing we just automated and we can't we can't stay doing that way. So it's like there is a massive change right now. It is like changing from when the press came out, the books, the printing press. It's like changing when Henry Ford introduced the production line. That type of workplace change is happening again right now to leverage these tools. And unfortunately, I think you can't be resistant to understanding and learning about these technologies. If you can just become open to applying this even in your own life. How do I manage my finances better? Like, and what's funny is like, well, people self-checkout, right? They'll go to a grocery store, they'll use self-checkout, and they'll say, oh, they hate automation. But I'm like, yeah, but you don't want to wait in line for that person to check out your groceries or bag your groceries for you and have to have the conversation with you that they want to have the conversation with. But so you're leveraging automation where it fits you. But as soon as it touches what you do for work, it's just like, how's now? Like, how is that reasonable? Like, I think there's a lot of bias that's created because as soon as automation touches your job or your industry, you're skeptical. But anywhere else, drive-throughs is still automation. I'm amazed. In the US, like in comparison to Australia, how people use drive-throughs versus walking in and ordering at the counter is phenomenal. You'll have 20 cars lined up at a drive-through, but yet you'll walk into the counter and there's nobody there. There may be one person in the restaurant. And I'm like, man, I'm walking in. I want to use the restroom. I want
Mm.
to freshen up. And like, what's fascinating is I can have my food and be walking out the door before the cars are through the drive-through line. Like it's amazing. But and like in the world of retail, we're now seeing entire restaurants fully automated. Like the world is changing. And it's how do we embrace it? How everyone's journey is going to be impacted. And I think you just need to be open to going, how do I play this game and play the game to win? And I think if you can ask those quality questions, your life, your journey will completely change.
It's like going into education. You know, I was involved in something a few months ago, and I asked a question. I said, okay, you get someone hand you a piece of paper with, this, say it's a school, for example, in this case. And I said, you ask them to present a paper to you to talk about World War II, for example. They hand the paper in. You read it, you say it's perfect. How do you know it's AI or not? Because the schools are so clever now. They say we don't want AI, but then if you give a presentation to say, can you give me a paper for World War II? How do you know it's AI?
Yeah, well, and one of the things is they say they don't want AI, but yet the teachers are using AI to actually grade the papers to save them time because it's a whole funny debate that they're in right now. And I understand they're trying to teach logical thinking, but they're not doing it, I feel, in the best way. They should be leveraging AI. And how do you use AI now to think and think logically and validate things rather than the whole stance of, oh, no, just AI. But AI in the teaching school environment, even for helping teachers, impacting teachers on learning, I think it's a fantastic tool because it would allow them to provide personalized education plans for every student. Like that's a game changer. So, yeah, it's an interesting journey ahead, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I just touching upon education from my perspective, when I was in school 24 years ago, there was a certain exam which was physically handwritten, and then there was one exam that you had to put using a pencil, you had to mark in the gaps, and then it was fed into a computer. So in that sense, I always believe that was early AI because how can you tell the answers by just the lines? And they said they fed it into the computer, it will come out the result.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's fascinating. It like this technology is not new. It's just been implemented in unique ways for the last few years. And it's just now that it's become consumerized that everyone's like, oh my God, like, but that's not the reaction we want to have to it. Like the thing is out of the box. People want to kill AI, they want to cancel it, they want to limit it. I understand all of those perspectives, but the reality is it's here. It is improving our lives, and it can improve your lives in if you allow it to. Um, which is what's interesting.
So going into the future, because we have touched upon the past, we have touched upon the present. Going into the future, I know you're going to say this in the strongest possible way, and I support it, understandable. Do you believe AI is the way forward, that it's going to be a lot more productive than it is existing, or do you think it's going to be the same, where it's going to be getting stronger and stronger as more people use it?
So AI, as we know it right now, is literally a toddler. Like literally, it's a very, very, very smart toddler, a 3-year old, right? So every time it comes out, it improves in leaps and bounds. Like it can now see things, it can now read images, it can translate things. So it's only going to get better at what it can do. And now with the Android humanoid type robots that are coming out and how they're being applied, like everything we're dealing with is at its infancy. and it's the worst it'll ever be. So AI is moving far faster than we are. And I think that's what people need to understand, that, yeah, like it is the future. It is how things are going to be run. Is it possibly the best way? No. Because one of the things that's missing is the human side elements and the things it can't do yet. But the thing is how do you embrace it? I think if you're taking the position of you're going to resist it because you don't want to change, and I spoke to some big CEOs of some companies, and they're like, "Well, I retire in 2 years. I don't want to implement or do anything with AI. I just want to get to my retirement." And it took me 6 months of showing to them and demoing to them, "Hey, I don't care if you're a $1 billion company right now. If you don't implement AI, your retirement in 2 years and where you're going to be leaving this company could be you may no longer be the leader in your space." Like that's the change. Like the little fish will outcompete you because they don't need 100,000 employees. What they can get done and what you can get done when you just even using ChatGPT, it's quite amazing. You can write contracts, you can write legal drafts, you can review stuff, you can have it teach you things. You can tell it to teach you about a topic the way you need to learn. You can have it even create podcasts. Like that's exciting. But most people don't even reference that. So I think it's a new way of thinking. And I think that's one of the challenges that a lot of people have is they now have to learn something new and it's intimidating. It is really intimidating, but you can't get through it. The first 30 days of learning anything sucks. No matter what you did. You learn to drive, you learn how to cook. I can promise you, you weren't a professional chef the first time you cook any dish, right? So why is this technology stuff any difference?
Yeah. So obviously people would be interested in getting in contact with you. Can they get in contact with you? Is there a website? Is there anywhere to
Yeah,
contact you?
they can reach out to automateboring.net. And so that's, or if they want to reach out to help@automateboring.net, I provide people with free brainstorming sessions on how to use AI, what you could do in your life, all that type of stuff. And then you can also get access to what I'm sharing right now is the 0 to 500K challenge, where I'm documenting everything we're doing with the automation of a new e-commerce brand and business that was started. And it's a free resource to everybody.
Okay, and last question. Inspiration to help others on their journey. What would you say to them?
It's it's the statement that always hits me is the obstacle is the way. So the success you want is on the everything that you're avoiding. And I think we've got to understand that what we're going to start with is not going to be perfect. It's not going to be great. But you know what? I always tell my team, what can we launch by Friday? What can we launch and have it live? Because that momentum of getting something live and getting results is life changing. It's truly, truly life changing. So don't think you want to launch an idea, you want to learn something. So it's like, hey, what could I do with AI? What could I do with automation? What could I do with art? What could I do with whatever it is? But what could I have and have it live by Friday? All right. Give yourself that challenge and it changes the way you'll learn. It changes the way you'll do that task because you want to launch it. You want to get it live. And you know what? It may suck and it may be really bad. But you know what? When you do it again next week, it'll be better. And you learn so much. And I think it's just that first thing is always the hardest. But just doing that first thing sets you apart from so many people. And I know it's even held me back in my life. Like that fear of the judgment or the ridicule or the embarrassment or whatever it is. But it's actually what's quite surprising is how much people look at you and go, "Oh my God, well, look at what you did. Look at how you did it." And like it's that action you took and you consistently taking that action, which is the game changer. So hopefully that helps a few people.
That should help a few people. And I'd just like to say thank you for sharing your journey with us today, Benjamin. It's enlightening because I want people to feel like, and I'm saying this in the nicest way, I want people to know that AI is the way forward, is the way it's going to help people succeed in their future aspirations.
Awesome. I appreciate being here, David.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day.
The Journey podcast explores stories of personal growth, challenges, and life-changing moments.
Each episode dives into unique experiences, offering insights and inspiration for listeners navigating their own paths. I believe everyone has a story worth sharing. If you'd like to share your journey with David and others, email your story to wisewords1983@reborn.com, and it may be featured in a future episode.